This is a Founding Media podcast.
So, I am here today with Cherie Mathews, who is a friend and someone that I've known about her invention for a very long time. She's the founder of Healing Comfort and the creator of the world's smartest recovery shirt for people who've had mastectomies and other surgeries as well. Correct?
That's right. Super happy to be here. Thank you, Deb.
So I'm going to jump right in. So like many other things that have come about, inventions, it came about by necessity and experience. And I want you to talk a little bit about this was something that was fueled by sort of frustration and anger, correct? Once you realized what happened when you left the hospital after you were supposedly recovering from a mastectomy, major surgery.
Major surgery.
How many other people would they send home that way that had just had major surgery?
Well, 250,000 women are diagnosed every year, so I can't even calculate the proper numbers for that. But yes, as a former IBM in computer engineering, I did a lot of invention in that, R&D. And I was diagnosed with cancer, even though I was an organic eater, long-distance runner, triathletes and everything.
Cancer doesn't discriminate.
It really doesn't. And it's just good to understand that, because 1 in 8 women, unfortunately, at some time in their life will be diagnosed with breast cancer. So we must find a cure. But I was diagnosed, and I did about 48 pages of research. And I had determined that it was only diagnosed on one side, but I determined that the best chance of survival for me was a double mastectomy, removal of both breasts, which is a horrific thing to try to research to find out that you have to have even more surgery. Okay, so I actually had to present it to the oncologists and the surgeons, and they, back in the day, it was 2001, they say, no, we don't take off healthy body parts. Okay, well, I believe this is my best chance of survival. So I won, and I went in to have a double mastectomy. And when I woke up, there was no way you could possibly prepare yourself for the first look or the feeling or the emotional. No way. And they tried to get me dressed in what they suggested, which was my husband's used dress shirt, big and loose, opens up in the front. And it was too much torque, and I actually got sick on it. So that's bad. But the nurse got really upset with me, asking me, why did you bring this? And I'm like, wow, this is my first mastectomy. I don't know. And then I said, why don't you provide something for me? Why do I have to guess?
What kind of shirt to have?
Yeah, I don't know. How do you know what it feels like to have body parts removed and, the emotional part of it? But as I started thinking about it, and she was waiting for the doctor to have to do a new release, I started getting really kind of pissed off, because I'm like, okay, so a sprained elbow receives a sling to recover in. And I've just had my body mutilated and got in trouble for guessing wrong.
As far as what kind of outfit, even, or shirt or whatever.
How do you manage? How do you manage? What are you supposed to wear? So, salt in the wound was I got into the wheelchair, and she handed me 2 drain tubes in each hand, one in each hand, and I said, "Ma'am, I need my hands. What do I do with these, and why do I have them?" She says, "Well, they're sewn into your body for 2 to 3 weeks." I'm like, ew, I don't want to look at these, and I need my hands. She said, don't worry. We hand you, we'll give you some safety pins so you can manage the drains. I said, safety pins so I can manage the drains? This is my post-op equipment you're giving me?
2 safety pins.
2 safety pins to pin the drains, think about it, to the outside of my husband's used, now throw-up shirt. And I'm going to walk in my door and greet my children. Not happening. So as I'm heading down the hallway, I literally had like almost an out-of-body experience. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure if a man was to lose his man parts in his war against cancer, they would never say, hey, just bring your wife's skirt to go home. It's non-binding. So I felt it was an atrocity to be told to bring something like my husband's dress shirt, big loose bag, garbagey feeling, without my breast. And so I vowed to myself, if there's any way that I could actually solve this for others, I was going to do it.
So I've always called it the Heal in Dignity shirt.
Yes.
Because I think that was your main motivation.
Yes.
And, besides helping others and making sure no one else had that horrific experience when they're already having a horrific experience.
It's a horrific experience.
So talk to me a little bit about the healing and dignity aspect of it, especially for women.
Yeah, it's a very undignified disease. Everything is pretty much cutting, splicing, dicing, burning, radiating, and chemoing. That's how they manage this disease currently, although we are getting better immunology and smarter targeted medicines.
Stem cell.
And stem cell. But at the time, and still today, it's just a brutal battle to get through. And the dignity part for me was so vitally important because when you feel really unattractive, to have something to help me manage the drains or the patients manage the drains and feel a little bit like a blanket on me and dignity is so vitally important. And so the whole passion to start this whole business, Heal in Comfort, and with dignity, was to actually solve that problem. And that's what I did.
Well, and you mentioned going home to your kids. I was just, I've never heard you say that before. And the thought just rushed through my mind how horrible that must be. Here's their mother who was gone. They're afraid. Mm-hmm. They don't know they don't know what's happening to you. They just knew it was serious. And I think a lot of little kids, even, from the beginning, they think, and I'm not saying really young, but all children, when their mother's gone, they're not sure their mother's going to come back. Yeah. And so if she comes back with these horrible drains, safety pinned to her shirt, what are they supposed to think?
Right. Well, what is anybody supposed to think? What's my husband supposed to think? What am I supposed to think? What are they supposed to think? The whole thing. So basically, my whole invention was to look like a person and not a science experiment because I felt like a science experiment. I mean, literally a science experiment.
And you were an engineer and a scientist, so no wonder that was your first thought. So speaking of which, you were an engineer for IBM and a scientist, and you had no entrepreneurial experience, but yet you were driven to be a founder and to create and to be an entrepreneur. So talk a little bit about what caused that shift.
Well, the shift was there was no other way to solve the problem unless I came up with a prototype. And so building prototypes is in my lane, if you will, but certainly not clothing. So, I read
somewhere where you failed home ec because you stapled a hem.
I did. I was trying to hurry up. I had a basketball game, and it was platzo pants, and they have hems that were like skirts, so they're very, very large. I didn't have time, and I did not understand the bottom bobber part. It just didn't make any sense to me how that even works. And I stapled, and I came out, and she says, "You do know that I know the difference between that." I said, "I'm sorry, but I have to go and staples really fast, and it's very effective. It's short enough, it works," like that. She goes, "No, you failed." Anyways, so what I did, because I reverse engineer everything, and that is what I highly recommend for any problem solving, is to reverse engineer. Don't just think about only in your head space. Find out what they've done and go backwards. So for me to reverse engineer, it was with Coco Chanel. And the reason is because she was a boss of fabric.
She's the boss of everything.
She's the boss of everything. She was the boss. But I watched a movie once, and I saw her with her hands on her hip, and she goes, "No, not good enough, not good enough." And everybody's like, "Ah." And I know what that feels like if you're doing microchips, but I didn't know, how to equate that to fabric. And so it took me many, many, many tries, many different vendors to try to get material So it's kind of like a Nike Dry Fit, super, super soft, moisture wicking material, but then have Velcro opening because you can't move your hands very much. You can't brush your own teeth very well.
You can't lift.
You
can't do
lift.
anything.
You can't do anything. So self-dressing is really important. That gets back to what you were saying about the dignity. So the design itself, I made a prototype, and I went to Joann Fabrics and basically cried on their doorstep like a wet kitten trying to get in. Please help me. And that was my prototype because I knew I had to have a prototype. The weird thing was I get a phone call. Fox News is coming to my house to do an interview on my new invention of I've told one person in all of Austin. And they're coming. I was on TV with things that I got from the Academy thinking I want this. Oh, it was crazy. It was just crazy. I was holding on to the Velcro buttons that are stick-ons so tight so they didn't peel off on TV. They did a clear close-up on my hands. But this is a prototype. This is what invention is about. And so I designed, and after watching Coco Chanel, I had the confidence to say, nope, not good enough. And then I found what was good enough. And with my $1,000 bootstrap startup, which I got inspired because I got to listen to the founder of Tom's Shoes, Blake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makowski?
Yes. At South by.
At South by.
Yes.
Yes.
And I sat there and go, wow. Because he spoke about his phone and he would slide it over for the different departments. And his friend would say, this is a shipping department. How can I help you? And they bootstrapped.
Right.
And I thought to myself, well, maybe.
And that was a great talk. I remember.
Do you?
Yeah.
And that was the fire under me to say, I'm doing this. I'm going to bootstrap just like Blake. And so $1,000.
And the goal was $1,000, 100
patients. And I'm done.
patients.
Yeah, I want to get out. Yeah.
And well, you did you really think that 100 patients?
I really
and I'm
did.
done?
No, for sure. I wanted to not really dwell on cancer stuff. It's hard.
It is hard. It's hard to
yeah.
It's very emotionally draining, but it's also very rewarding.
It's a calling. It becomes a calling versus just a mad invention thing. And so the 100 goal was met in Austin, and now we are celebrating almost 22,000 souls.
That's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about that journey. So you started out, and I know there have been a lot of lessons learned and frustrations and things like that along the way. So you have a great idea. It's an idea. I think one time you told me it should be something that either helps someone.
Sharon Lecter, I quote her. Sharon Lecter either solves a problem or serves a need.
And it did both.
Yes, and so I felt like I had a winning combination because it's not an either or, it's a both. So solve a problem, serve a need, or don't start a business.
And when did this become full-time?
Well, when we got past the 100 and I started getting calls and emails and people reaching out for their mom, for their sister, and I'm like, I'm talking about 50 calls a day of people just asking questions. I can't find anything. I've been Googling. I've been to Walmart, all these places.
Right.
And they're confused and they're scared and they just want their problem solved. And that is, what is mom going to wear? She's crying more about that than she is worried about other things. And I'm like, yeah, because people choose clothing every day. We have to make decisions. There is no decision making when you don't know what you're going to look like or feel like. And when they tell you that you can't even barely brush your own teeth because the movement is so limited, then you really start freaking out because you're like, well, that means you don't put a slip over your head, you don't put on a T-shirt, you don't step into something, you can't even pull anything.
Well, and the first thing people would see, to me, if the drains were all over the place, is the drains. Instead of, at least when you have on the shirt, they're hidden. They're hidden and
discreetly.
That's a wonderful thing. So as far as lessons learned and things starting out, your goal, obviously, once you heard from other people. And by the way, if people should go on Amazon and read the reviews, they really should read the reviews. They should read what people say about this shirt because it's amazing. I've had personal experience with sending it to family members, and I can give the testimony. But so you knew that it worked, and you knew that it did the things you wanted it to do. The problem was, how do you get it out there? How do you sell it? How do you market it? Those kind of things. So talk to me a little bit about that.
As all businesses do. You get into that particular aspect of, okay, then I'm ready to pull up my bootstraps and let's get going. And getting it out there really organically instead of just, I think it's deeper when people tell your story. I think it goes further and it lasts longer versus a splash.
When they have a personal attachment as well.
Yes, and they tell a different story than they do, or something on a 60-second something flash. So I've been super, super blessed that people have cared enough to actually tell the story, even like what's happening right now. To be able to tell the story, to encourage others to maybe invent their own, go solve a problem or serve a need. I became that's how my word gets out there, is by wonderful people with great storytelling capabilities to megaphone the story, get it out.
Well, a frustration for me for Heal and Comfort with Dignity has been that I do not understand. I sometimes feel like I'm a 5-year-old stomping my foot every time we talk about this product, because I feel like it should be automatically given to every woman in every hospital
Amen.
that has surgery. Why? What have you encountered? What's been the issue?
First of all, yes, that is my vision. And this is why some of the efforts even today are getting the word out. Okay, so I'm allowed to be honest, yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
we want
I had
you to be
attracted
honest.
the attention of a $5 billion company, and they contacted me and they said, all we want to do is we're going to, the vision for Heal and Comfort and everything is, they flew me over. We had big conversations. What they promised verbally and through emails and everything was not what the attorneys do. And the bottom line is this: a lot of medical apparatus, medical equipment, the margins that they demand are so ridiculous. So like a knee brace, they gave me an example. Well, a knee brace cost us $2.50 and we charge $500.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. I'm like, well, that's not my margin. So, and this is the other weird thing. Like some other big box companies, they can put in an order for, let's say, 10,000, 20,000 shirts, which we were talking, like this is a big deal. They're like, okay, so the contract that you're going to sign is we will pay you 50% up, but then we reserve the right the day of shipping. I can bring 20,000 shirts right up to their shipping dock for them to receive. Mm-hmm. And once they would receive, then they would, of course, pay the entrepreneur the remaining balance. But they reserve the right to say, oh, we're not accepting any product right now. And then it would be up to me to pay my vendors, to pay for shipping, to reship to some warehouse that doesn't exist for 50,000 shirts, and either wait for them to change their mind or say, come on in a couple of months from now. Well, that's how you break entrepreneurs. That's how you break, because you become then you're completely cash strapped. And so I said no, because that hurts the entrepreneur. And so that's been a little bit of the frustration that way. But I will tell you, if I'm allowed to say, pretty soon, rumors are that Amazon is opening up kind of like a medical distribution aspect of a new vertical for them. Because other even smaller hospitals, they have to deal with this kind of like an antiquated type of system to get what they want. Sometimes quantities that don't fit for the smaller hospitals and some of the rural hospitals. So they're going to open it up in Amazon so people can order 25 wheelchairs instead of having the 150 minimums, things like that. That's the rumor. And so we have positioned ourselves to go in to be a medical device offered through that type of avenue, possibly. That's one of the goals.
That would be good.
I know. reach more patients.
I still think that they should, it's just like I can't even understand or believe that when I go and I have a sprained ankle, they give me the thing to put on my foot. They give you the thing to put on your arm. They give you a sling. Why in the name of God would they not give you a shirt that's custom made to take home?
That's my battle, Deb. And the thing is like a sprained elbow receives more equipment to heal in than a woman that's had a mastectomy. And that is a sprained elbow receives a sling to heal in, okay? And a woman that's been basically mutilated and butchered, and it feels like that, does not receive standardized, fair for all, standardized equipment. And that's kind of the warpath that I'm on. I mean, I'm feeling with enough exposure, this is going to get done.
So you have chosen, or out of necessity or obviously choice, to continue to bootstrap, correct, through this whole thing. And so you did say that you did investigate the VC route, but talk to me a little bit about that.
No, I think it's for many businesses, that is the only way to go. You have to scale, and you have to bring money in, and you have to take those steps. I looked into the angel investments. We have some fabulous organizations here in Austin, and that is not out of the realm now. I needed a story all the way from bootstrap to, I think, a pretty good proof of concept, like 22,000 souls. So I believe I have my story. And I've actually been even flown into the UK to talk about the story, which is the inventor in you. But no, I'm ready for next steps. I'm open-minded to merging. I'm open-minded to being acquired, taking next steps. And VCs are certainly a possibility, without a doubt. I have no problem with it. I just needed to finish my chapter, and my chapter was the bootstrap, but I'm ready.
So you said to me one time that it was more helpful for you to study failures in entrepreneurship than success.
Absolutely.
I think that comes from your reverse engineering idea as well.
Yes, ma'am.
But tell me why.
Oh, it's very apparent to me that, 97% of businesses fail within the first 3 years. And I'm like, well, why? See, my brain is always the why. So I went about not getting onto these little rah-rah meetings where you too can do it, and you're going to be a billionaire in 6 months if you follow our 10 steps. Right. Yeah. So I wasn't too interested in anything like that, and I went after why do they fail. And I'm going to be honest, like a big portion of what I discovered about why they fail is they get the cart before the horse, and they actually get into huge debt. So they think, okay, I need money now because I have an invention in my kitchen. I have 3 prototypes and I need $2 million. Okay?
Right.
And so what happens is when you get into debt, before you're actually ready to be in debt, now, because I have a healthy debt, scaling debt, they get into fear because guess what? Those VCs come knocking. What have you done? Where are the projections? Things like that.
What are your margins?
What are your margins? What are your everything? They're like, they get into panic mode. And when you are in debt and in panic mode, I believe the entrepreneur no longer becomes creative. I think your mind kind of just shifts gears into just pumping it out and selling, which is fine if that's what you are.
The last interview I just did with Alexis Jones, she said one of the things all entrepreneurs have to have is faith in themselves.
Yep.
And when you lose faith, that's when you flounder.
Yes. And the freedom to free think, which to me is a goal constantly. I will not be put in a box. If somebody
Really?
tries, no, yeah,
You think?
She thinks that's funny. Deb's laughing at me right now. But no, I believe so much in free thinking. The joy of the journey is actually being creative and watching a dream turn into a reality. And you can't do that in a box. You just can't. You cannot be that. So anyway, yes, I reverse engineered. I found out why a lot of them implode. Money's a biggie. I think it's more debt than even the money. And I think bootstrapping is cool. I mean, it teaches you very quickly what works, what doesn't, what your message is, like
Efficiencies of economy?
everything. And the best thing was all the weird people that come out that say, I'm going to take your business to the next level. I would just tell them, yeah, well, I'm bootstrapped. And they're like, okay, bye-bye. It was great.
Because there wasn't any money in it for them.
It scooted them away. And now I'm always, like a very good chess player, I'm always big ears for good angel investment. I'm always big ears for the proper organization, the proper lane. But I can now talk with great confidence on how and what works and what not. You know, I can't be sold some little snake oil that they're going to take me to the next level when I know that that's principally not the way it works. So it's been great.
Well, and this too has been one of those things where it's been not only empowering for you, but empowering for women.
Yeah.
In general. Talk to me a little bit about some of the feedback that you've gotten from people that have used the shirts.
Well, I'm going to tell you my very first and favorite story, and that was a lady that was, I guess she was 98, so her daughter called me personally and said, my mother's having a double mastectomy. She's 98, la, la, la. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, that's a lot to go through when you're older. And she said, yeah. And so she got 2 shirts. And, I wasn't expecting to hear back again. But I got a call back like 6 months later. And they're like, she says, I don't know if you remember me. My mother's 98 and she went through double mastectomy, flying colors. She's doing great. And she says, I'd like to order 2 more shirts. I'm like, well, can we talk about that? Because if she's already had a mastectomy, she goes, no. I have to tell you this story. We were trying to get out the door. My mother, without breast, she didn't have reconstruction. She's 98, was standing there with her granny panties up to her chest over the dryer, like waiting for the cake to come out.
Oh.
and I said, Mom, we have to hurry. We have to go. And she said, I'm waiting for my Heal and Comfort shirt to get dry. And she goes, Mom, you don't need that anymore. And she pointed at me and she goes, you don't understand. I do. Or Heal and Comfort does. And she said, Cherie, it's her blankie. She won't go anywhere without her little Heal and Comfort shirt underneath.
Feel the physical need. It also was part of the feeling. It's part of her, what she associates with as far as her recovery emotionally.
Heal and Comfort represented to her somebody that cares.
Great. Okay, we get to be the very first to talk about a really, really exciting addition to my favorite Heal and Comfort shirt. Cherie has patented, correct? Received a patent for Eli technology.
So I have not received that patent, Deb. The people I'm working with are the inventors. I am part of the company. I'm part owner, investor in company. So it is a patented product, and it's so exciting that I can barely sleep at night. And the reason is my particular shirt is a personal physical resolve. But I also know that cancer patients go through emotional and spiritual attacks and the trauma in the head between the ears. And how do you actually help people on a deeper level? Well, my friend Jan Gibson was telling me about Envision Eli technology, and it was for the blind. And she was telling me all about how it's helping the blind. And I said, Jan, wait. Oh, my gosh. Let me talk to Rick right now. Because what you're doing for the blind, I can do for cancer patients. And she goes, oh, wow. So I got to meet the 2 inventors, which is Ron Klein. He's the grandfather of possibilities. He's a prolific inventor. And he actually invented the credit card strip.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And the New York Stock Exchange thing, the ticker.
Right.
Yeah. And MLS listing. And then Rick Gibson, does rocket engines and things. He's an IT guru. And then there's Dave Bowes, who's our investor and everything. So he's an amazing man too. So we got together, and I'm just trying to vet this thing out. And so I've always wanted the shirt to do some feedback where they're having a temperature, if the patient's walking around too much or not walking around too much. And that's a very expensive thing to do, nanotechnology interwoven into the shirt. Okay, very expensive, like $10 million startup type thing. So this ends up being in a thing that looks like a QR code, but it's not. The technology allows 10 different platforms or IP to interconnect and create a menu of brilliance. So, for example, we're going to be giving to BCRC and Seton Breast Care Center 100 shirts each with this Eli sticker on it. And now, within 2 seconds, bedside, the patient can take their smart device, wave it over the code, Eli technology code, and about $500 million worth of technology is now at their fingertips.
I did it, and it's like abracadabra. It comes right up, and then you can personalize it.
Yep.
You can choose what you want to do. Talk to me a little bit about some of the things that you're going to be able to do with this technology.
Yeah, so it's in the cloud, and currently I have placeholders, and I have some technology that can connect people from all over the world. So if they're having their first chemo and they're scared, they can get in some of these portals and say, I'm having my first chemo. And then other people from like all over the world can actually say, me too, let's do it together. So community, it brings in knowledge, it brings in test trial for medicines and things like that. But that's the placeholder, because in the future, I'm going to be bringing modified reality, augmented reality, and currently we have even Alexa, Dr. AI. So the patient gets to opt in to whatever the menu is. They can pick and choose what they're interested in, not interested in. And if they chose, let's say, and they have an Alexa, they can connect to Dr. AI. At 2 o'clock in the morning, they can say, Alexa, open Dr. AI. And they'll say, hello, Cherie, how can I help you? In their bed, all by themselves, and they can say, I have a fever. It runs through 110,000 white pages to diagnose what the patient's experiencing. And at the end, if it can't diagnose or it's a red flag, through these white pages, it'll say, would you like me to talk or call your doctor now?
Wow.
Yeah.
So it will
Home
connect
care.
them. So let's say they're having some symptoms that they're a little worried about. But so many people, it's always I've never been one of those that was hesitant to call the doctor because I feel like I'm paying them there. I'll call them. But many people don't. And so it will do that. It will, well, at least it will encourage you to go, I can't find out why you have a fever, so maybe you should call the doctor.
Yeah, and it's just a type of what's happening in, 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every single day in America. And at some point, the hospital systems may be stressed by that. So any type of thought-provoking invention to have home care or to at least answer some maybe simpler questions at home is advantageous. But when you're a patient and you can't even think straight, you don't feel like Googling and going down the rabbit holes. So this is very powerful IP that runs it through artificial intelligence, AI, and it will come up with it's like 98% accuracy rate right now.
And it's amazing. So the good thing is you're going to be able, that's an addition to the Healing Comfort shirt.
Value.
I mean, it's added value. It's not, you're not charging extra.
I am not.
And how are you able to do that?
Because I can. Because I'm I'm part of the company. And I have their blessings too. And as they're helping the blind, I'm helping cancer patients. And so these little stickers can be removed by the patient, or they can completely utilize them every single day if they want to. And a cool thing is they can even send the code to other cancer patients and share the knowledge and share the wisdom of hand-curated IP platforms to help emotionally, spiritually, physically, every aspect of the journey. No one should ever face cancer alone, nor should they be uninformed. They should be empowered. They should know their questions and answers that they were going to bring to the doctor. They shouldn't feel like a victim. They should feel like, I understand what's going on, what my next steps are. I've got a community behind me. Can you imagine reaching all these people by a 2-second wave of your phone over a shirt?
It's incredible. So it comes back to we've come back to this is the perfect interview. When you write stories, since I've been a writer forever, they draw a snake and the snake eats its tail. That's supposedly a perfect story and a perfect interview. We're right back to where we started, which is this is all about giving people that dignity and all about, just exactly what you just said. It's about connection, it's about community, and it's about something that was born to serve a need and to have a purpose. And that's your purpose.
Yep, solve a problem, serve a need. And the blessing is that in Austin, Texas, that in, I believe it's going to be February the 5th, we will be announcing to the world. In Austin, patients, again, will be the beneficiaries of the experience that I'm trying to bring to the cancer patients and added value to the Heal and Comfort shirt. Deb, one more thing. I now have just filed 1 week ago a utility patent, but it's a global PCT patent. So it married old technology with new technology. And so that's pretty exciting. Like, I'm really excited about that.
I think it's all very exciting.
Sure.
So, Cherie Mathews, Heal and Comfort. Check it out. If you have any, I can testify if you have anyone that might benefit from a shirt that will help them recover with dignity. It's healincomfort.com.
Healincomfort.com, and it's same price as flowers, but it's helpful for over a year.
Same price as flowers, but helpful for over a year.
Because they don't wilt. It won't wilt.
That's right. And you can pass it down.
You can.
My sister-in-law gave her to, it was sort of like you tell a friend and you tell a friend and you tell a friend, which is just exactly what you were talking about, organic marketing.
And for the men, I have the recovery shirt so they didn't have to go to a pink site. Men get breast cancer too. A lump is a lump, right?
And can they use that shirt for other types of surgeries other than
absolutely. Yes. We're helping organ transplant, heart surgery, shoulder surgeries,
veterans,
and hospice, and I actually created the black for the veterans, black colored shirt, because that's the only color that works for them as far as special ops color. It's acceptable to all branches. So I have a really cool black one. But my sister, who's in rock and roll, wanted it for Dave Stewart's friend. She says it has to be black. We don't do anything in rock and roll unless it's black.
All right. So Cherie Mathews, Heal and Comfort, rock and roll.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Love you.